Okay, a lot of technical difficulties, a lot of BS going on. But what was not BS was this game. All right, so let's talk about the game. I'm sorry, chat, if the stream is acting dumb. Like I said, I'll upload this segment the next day. But let's go ahead and dive into it. I have been keeping up with some of the comments here and from the last stream, and it seems like most of us were quite upset with the sheer amount of turnovers. And this is a vibe. We'll see in a minute. I have not looked at the stats. This is a vibe. But I feel as if Wemby led the way a little bit, right? Maybe Wemby led the way a little bit. Or at the very least, he had a few. All right, so just diving straight into it. We'll talk about each individual player super briefly this time because there's nothing to really report on. And then I'll just tell you overall how I felt about this game. So just starting with Julian Champagnie, I think that this is going to be the starting lineup that they go with for the season. It makes sense, especially on paper, that you would go with Julian Champagnie at the shooting guard position just because, you know, he can stretch the floor and he's a good shooter for the most part. So it makes sense for them to go with that. I personally would prefer Steph Castle being in there. At one point, they did go with a lineup that consisted of Chris Paul, Steph Castle, Harrison Barnes, Sohan, and Collins. And it wasn't Wemby because Wemby didn't play in the second half at all, I don't think. And that lineup was actually pretty decent. I'm not going to lie to you. It was actually pretty decent. But overall, just how did everyone do? Champagnie did fine. You know, he's always going to do fine. No complaints there. Sohan was great. You know, don't be surprised if people still don't give him a lot of credit for what he does because his game just isn't that flashy, right? But he's always in the right position. He's always making the right reads, and especially off ball. He does a great job. And yeah, he did a good job in this game. He did a really good job in this game. The stream is, yeah. And then moving on, Barnes, I don't have anything to say about him. I'm going to say this every single time, every single stream that we do talking about Barnes. I have nothing to say. He's a professional. He does a good job. And his numbers are going to improve once the season actually starts and we utilize them, right? Wemby was he was rough. Wemby was rough. On paper, it looks fine. 3 for 6, 8 points, only 2 turnovers. I thought it was more. 2 turnovers, 2 fouls, a block, steal. But Wemby was very rusty. Wemby is fine, but he was very rusty. I mean, if I'm just being honest, he was not the best. Got caught up on pump fakes a lot, just kind of out of position, experimented, and kind of, I'll be honest with you, this is the one time that I felt this way. I typically don't feel this way with Wemby. I felt like the ball kind of stopped when Wemby had it at times, you know? He was sloppy. Yeah, he was very sloppy. It seemed like the momentum just kind of stopped when he had the ball during this game. And that's not typically the case when he's on the court. He usually plays better than that. But yeah, he's just sloppy, you know, haven't really been able to play a full game, haven't been around the guys enough, you know, on the court in game action to be able to knock the rust off. But I noticed that. I was like, man, this seems like last game we were passing the ball much better, and it's like Wemby got into the starting lineup and it was like, ooh, you kind of stopping it a little bit, Wemby. Also pulled up all these pull-ups. One of the ones he hit was a pull-up 3. I don't remember if all of them were pull-ups, but you know, taking shots he probably shouldn't take. But you know, even with Wemby not playing his best, he managed to get 8 points, a block, a steal, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. That's just how good he is. But yeah, he's gonna have to get it together. Yeah. He said, "Wizard, what are you yapping about?" He said it's just rust. He's talking about Wemby. Oh wait, he said something. Wemby hasn't shown anything different from last season so far. Oh, that's what you're talking about. Yeah, no. We shouldn't expect too much different from Wemby right now. First and foremost, let's get this out of the way. these preseason games with Wemby, he has played better than this last season. Okay, so this is definitely rust. All right, even if we get the exact same Wemby we did last season, that's a plus, and it's fine because you got to keep in mind that last season, during the off season, he had the Olympics going on. You know, he just didn't have a lot of time to necessarily work on his game. But I do think that the Olympics, in and of itself, mentally really helped him for sure. But just as a raw skill, trying to figure out what his spots are, that's still going to take time, and we have to wait and see. Wemby and Chris Paul have not played together much at all, and that's kind of the big selling point for the season, to see how those two gel. So I'm not worried at all. I'm just being honest, and I can be pretty like blatant with Wemby because he's so good. Even though he's so young, he is so good. So I could just be honest and say, yeah, he wasn't that good. He was pretty bad. But even a bad game for him give you 8.7 rebounds in 17 minutes. So just how good he is. Moving on, Chris Paul had a better shooting night than last time. It felt like he was struggling last time, but as far as turnovers, he actually led the way. I could have sworn it was Wemby. He led the way with 6. So overall, look, the Miami Heat are they're a good defensive team, right? They've played together. They know each other's tendencies. They play good defense. Just call it what it is, bad coaching from the Spurs. I don't think it was bad. I mean, Wemby being sloppy has nothing to do with coaching, I don't think. He was just sloppy. Playing lagging again. We'll be back. You gotta just deal with lag until I call and fix that. Clay, you're frozen. We're back. It's okay. But overall, I don't think Wemby was like not coached well. I think it was just he just struggled. Just a little sloppy. That's on him. Okay, so Zach Collins, dude, he wasn't bad. I don't know how to even talk about Zach Collins. He's not bad. I think a lot of people are a little too harsh about Collins. We're expecting him to be a stretch. I mean, he's talked about that 50 million times on how he's going to be more of a stretch. Yeah, I know he's coming off of that shoulder injury or whatnot. I think that his game is just overall just kind of I don't really know how else to explain it. Seriously, I mean, that's all I got. It's just kind of I mean, there's no real finesse to it. It's just kind of like jamming it in there. I don't know. He has decent touch around the rim. It's fine. He did fine. He didn't play bad. Zach was honestly just okay today, which was an improvement from the constant bad he's been. Well, last game he was pretty bad. Yeah. But yeah, I agree. Zach is always just okay. And I feel like it goes too far when people start to say like he's trash or he's bad or he's a terrible player. I don't think that's the case. It's saying your stream restarted and it's only been on for a minute. Is that just me? I don't know. Dude. I don't know. This stream is sloppy. Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea what it's doing. Anyways, moving on. Just going from thing to thing. Mamu didn't play, so I think Pop was just trying to get a vibe for everyone else. Allow Zach Collins to get a few more minutes, all that good stuff. Allow Bassey to get his minutes. Keldon Johnson did really well today. Like, this is the Keldon Johnson that I really liked. It doesn't show in the stat sheet because it shows only 1 assist, but he was passing the ball very well. I think it was only 1 shot that I felt forced. It was a little forced, but other than that, I thought Keldon did a good job. I thought he did a really good job. Keldon had a block. Oh, I don't know why they didn't record it. They recorded a steal. Yeah, Keldon needs to play like this for the rest of the season. He did totally fine. And I'll be honest with you, there was a lineup that the Spurs did with, I think it was Chris Paul, Stephon Castle, Keldon, was it Jeremy Sohan and Wemby? And that was a really good lineup. Like I said before, Keldon is totally fine, especially if he's surrounded around defenders. And I think that that's where he fits best. Where it's really hard to exploit him. But overall, you know, he is a little bit quicker. He just looked good today. I was just proud. I was like, cool. This is the Keldon that we need right here. One that's, you know, passing the ball fairly well. You know, not necessarily having tunnel vision. Not putting it all on himself to be the creator, put it all on himself to score for the team. He did a good job just playing his part, playing his role. Yeah. And I feel like even with 15 points, it was kind of a quiet game, but that's what you want. You want those quiet Keldon games where he just kind of blends in with the offense. And I thought he did a good job. I was happy with Keldon today. So anybody that thought that I was going to hate on him, no, I was actually really happy with this performance. And I hope that we continue to get this type of Keldon going forward. Charles Bassey, I know some people said like they definitely want to just see him be the backup center. We don't really have a choice, right? I think Mamu backs up Sohan. I don't see why you wouldn't do that. As far as Bassey, yeah, I don't know if you really have a choice, right? I mean, he's going to have to get some playing time, I think. And maybe he can split it between him and Collins. Another thing about Collins I didn't mention, Collins has some really good passes in there too, but he's always done that. He did that last season too. So Trey Jones only had 3 assists, huh? That is weird. Trey Jones, it felt like he had a really good game, which he did, but it did not show up in the stat sheet. That's interesting. So Trey Jones did great, as always, though. Malachi Branham was very aggressive today. 1 for 5 from 3, which isn't great, but 15 points overall. He had a really clutch 3, you know, the one that mattered near the end. He said Collins is awful, Bassey is awful too. Okay. But yeah, Branham was really aggressive today. Doesn't necessarily change my mind right now, you know, as far as the doubts that I have on whether or not he'll be able to fit for how the Spurs will use him. But I will say he played aggressive. Even on the defensive end, he got a steal and a block in there. So he had a fire under his butt. All right, he had some urgency. So that's what I'm saying, that even if even if Branham doesn't end up with the Spurs and he ends up with a different team, it's not going to be like a Lonnie Walker story where I think he's just passed around here and there. No, I think Branham legitimately has a place in the NBA. I think he's a really good player. I don't think he'll be a star or nothing like that, but I think he's a legitimate good player, a valid good player that deserves some minutes. It's just I don't know if he fits with us. But this game in particular, he did a really great job, very aggressive. This as well, going to the line. He shot 6 free throws at the line. Like he was aggressive. Blake Wesley, this wasn't his best game, but like I said, Heat was really putting on the heat. But he did fine. He did fine for what he is. And Castle, he was 1 for 5. I guess it all came in the fourth quarter, man. Yeah, I guess it all came because he was very impressive, I thought. So 5 assists, most assists on the team. Him and Chris Paul both have 5. That is weird. He's definitely one of those guys similar to Sohan where you have to watch the games to get a vibe. But defensively, he is a hawk, man. Point of attack defender, absolute hawk. He was great in that role. He was great as a defender this game. Very impressed by that. Wesley didn't get much minutes. Yeah, he only got 16. But Castle was good. Great passing ability. Played great defense. Yeah, that's all I really have to say. Oh, and he was very aggressive getting to the line too in the fourth quarter. I love Castle because he's definitely gonna be one of those players that if you don't have anything, he's gonna make the most out of nothing, and that's a very dangerous player to have on your team. And it makes it easier to finish games too. The Spurs could have won this game. They could have won this game. So, but he used his body, his frame at the end of the game to intimidate and try to get to the free throw line. I think he came up with a little I think he came in a little intimidated, but then eased up throughout the game. I can see that. I mean, I didn't see that personally, but I can see that. I mean, he is a rookie, so. But yeah, so overall, what did I think about this game? So everybody thus far in the chat, or a lot of people in the chat, have brought up the turnovers, right? They were like, oh my God, these turnovers were absolutely terrible. I'll be real with you. This makes me actually really excited for this team, because the fact that you had 21 turnovers and you still lost by 3. And it's not like every single game they've been getting a stupid amount of turnovers. They've been pretty good on turnovers. But you got this many turnovers, you were this sloppy. Your star Wemby was so sloppy, pretty terrible at times. And yet and still, you had this bad boy within 3. Now, someone who mentioned coaching, I don't think that there has been bad coaching in this game. I will say this, I don't understand not calling a timeout at the end, though. Now that's some coaching I scratch my head on. I don't understand that. I know some people might say, like, he just want to get it over with, or, you know, you didn't want anybody to get injured. But, like, I know it's preseason. I know at the long scheme of things, it doesn't really mean anything. But, dude, like, come on. These guys are out there battling it. You know, they're doing their thing. They deserve a shot to try to win the game. You know? You said, huh? You must have said, huh, because the stream went out again. But yeah, I just think that they deserve a shot to win it. And it was kind of disappointing that Pop was just like, nah, you know, going overboard with the Wemby criticism. I just said he had a bad game. He did. I said, even with Wemby having a bad game and you got 21 turnovers, you still almost won this game. And I think it speaks to, and here's the special part. Hold on, we do a play-by-play. Here's the special part about this game. In the fourth quarter, last season, I know it's just preseason, but last season, it would have went away. It would have got away from us. It would have absolutely got away from us. Because the Heat turned up the heat, and they got a little bit of a lead off of us, from what I remember. That wasn't the third quarter, was it? That was the... Yeah, no. Yeah, it was the fourth quarter. Check this out. So you can see right here, Malachi makes a shot, and then the Heat makes a 3-pointer, and now we're down by 3. And then the Heat makes 2 free throws, and then they make another 3-pointer. And last season, 2 minutes and 50 seconds left, it's over. That's done. That game is over. It's done. Pack up your bags, go home. But the Spurs kept fighting. Stephon Castle made sure he got to the line. And this is how you come back in the game, right? When you don't have anything, when things aren't going your way, you get to the line. Steph Castle went to the line. Charles Bassey got a dunk off of Steph Castle's assist. And you're going to see Steph Castle a lot, right? Steph Castle made another free throw. You know, you're within 6. They hit a 3, and now we're within 6 after that free throw. And then the Heat go to the line. They shoot 2 free throws, and it's like, okay, you're down by 8. What you going to do? Malachi Branham hits a 9-foot pull-up jump shot. That was pretty nice. And then he hits a 3, I thought it was a 3-pointer. Makes 2-point shot. Stephon Castle assisted that. And then we got a 3-pointer for Malachi, which Blake Wesley assisted. And yeah, and then it was kind of game from there. And also guys, we should have, who got fouled? Chat, who got fouled? Someone got fouled and they did not call it. Wasn't it Stephon Castle? Didn't Steph Castle get fouled at the end? Like they literally pushed off of him and they didn't call it? Oh, Steph? Yeah. So even that in the regular season, that's a call. That's a foul. And they go to the line. I think we would have went to the line at that point. Like I'm saying, I think that the Spurs legitimately, this was a better overall finish than we saw last season. And this wasn't even our finishers, right? The games, I think in the future in this season, you're probably going to end with Steph Castle on the court. I'm assuming, I don't know. If Devin Vassell comes back, I don't see them sitting Devin Vassell, starting Castle, and I don't see them sitting here. Well, I could see them sitting Harrison Barnes at times. We could very well see Harrison Barnes sit at the end of some games and have Steph Castle be at the small forward spot because of his defense alone. But overall, the fact that Castle, and this isn't just this game, it was last game as well, that his name pops up like this when the game is on the line, that's a really good sign. I think this is a microcosm of the type of player that he is and what we could possibly see in the future in bigger games. He didn't win a championship, just I don't know, coming off the bench or into the bench player. Like, he was involved in the UConn's championship. He has that heart. He has that it factor. So overall, he did a phenomenal job, and I thought the team did a really good job. So yeah, like I said, man, you had your star player playing poorly. You had Chris Paul turn the ball over 6 times. Your team as a whole turned it over 20 times. But your defense, your tenacity, your patience, your calmness at the end of the game kept you in it when it looked as if it was going to get away from us. So that's a really good sign. I think it's important for the Spurs to have games like this where things aren't going their way, because the first few games of this season or this preseason, things have gone in our way in a favorable way, right? It's gone. The matchups they've been tough, but we did a pretty good job or whatnot. Miami Heat, legitimate team, going to be in the conversation, going to be in the playoffs, going to be competing, and we were right there with them. And it's not like they were just, playing willy-nilly. They were playing hard too. So I thought we did a great job. So, yeah. So I know it's easy to complain about the turnovers, which I understand. But at the same time, we got to look at it in the perspective of we're going to have games during the season where you do turn the ball over quite a bit, or a team gets the best of you, defensively. How are you going to respond? And I personally think the Spurs responded very well, even with the mistakes that they made. I thought that they finished much better than what we've seen at times last season. They did a good job. So those are my thoughts on this game. Overall, good job.